superhero fans, once again, this is me, Monty G here. Yes, it's now time to do my spoiler reaction video about the Wonder Woman 1984. Now, just a slight warning for you guys. If you have not seen Wonder Woman 1984, I'm going to spoil most of what took place in the movie. If you have not seen Wonder Woman 1984, I suggest you take a look at my non-spoiler review, which I'll leave a card up there in the top right corner right there. If you are going to watch that film, or watch my non-spoiler review, watch Wonder Woman 1984, then you can come back and watch this review, watch this spoiler review, because I'm going to spoil the hell of it. You have been warned. Now, I decided to wait a couple days after I watched the film, and I actually watched the film again just to understand some of the aspects as far as the film is concerned, take a look at the performances, but mainly it's the story I was trying to focus on, because that's one of the main things I have a problem with the film. And that is the story that was written by Jenkins. It was also written by comic book writer Geoff Johns, and I believe it was also written by David Callahan. Now, I get what they were trying to accomplish, and you can see that aspect in the beginning of the film. Now, in the beginning of the film, we see a young Diane. She's participating in this Amazonian Olympic-style competition. And when she falls off her horse, she decides to take a shortcut because he sees a trench down there at the bottom of down at the bottom where she can go on ahead and win. Her aunt Envelope pulls her out of the way and said, "Diana, you cheated. That's not right. You have to learn to win. And if you don't win, you have to accept that fact and do better." That's a bit of a forbearance, because basically when you take a look at the whole story that Jenkins, David, and John were trying to tell in the story, that you cannot take shortcuts. You have to accept the truth, and you cannot take shortcuts in order to get by. With Diana's problem in this particular film is that she cannot accept the fact that Steve is dead. After she wishes Steve to come back alive, and he's alive now, she doesn't want to ruin that. That's taking a shortcut. She has to learn to let go. It's the same thing with Maxwell Lord and with Barbara Minerva. You cannot take shortcuts, or you are not going to like the results. And that's sort of what the story that the three writers tried to do here. Now, they didn't do it in a good way, of course, obviously, because there's other problems within the script, and I'll talk about those later. But that's what I got. What they were trying to convey is that the truth matters no matter what the cost, and you cannot take shortcuts. When I do my reviews here, whether it's a horror movie or any movie that I'm watching, I do not watch other people's reviews, because I don't want to be biased, nor I don't want to repeat anything what they're saying. When you look at my videos and what I'm reviewing, these are my own thoughts of what I believe what the film is, what I liked about the film, what I didn't like about the film, what I think what the film is conveying. These are my own thoughts. I don't want to borrow anything from anybody else. So after I put up my review, I watched a few reviews about Wonder Woman 1984, and a few people did enjoy it. I believe Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer, I know she enjoyed the film because she loved the emotional aspects Wonder Woman, because when you take a look at Wonder Woman, most people find that there's two types of Wonder Woman. You have the warrior Wonder Woman, and then you have the emotional Wonder Woman. And I believe why she liked the film, because it shows the emotional part of the character. Now, Chris Stuckman, he did not enjoy the film, and I can understand why. Because again, it's the story. The story doesn't make sense. And when you take a look at some of the things that happen in the story, especially with Maxwell Lord and how he grants his powers, there's a lot of things that don't make sense. It's kind of convoluted, and it's a bit redundant. And we've seen this all before, not just in movies in this one, but mainly in horror movies, when you have the wish object. I mean, when you take a look at the horror movie Wish Upon, where the girl wished upon something, but something bad would happen. It's the same here, but unfortunately, it really doesn't make any sense. One of the problems, and I do agree with some of the people that stated the fact they did not like how the wish thing worked, was the aftermath. It's like when everyone renounced their wishes, what happened to all the people when the nuclear bombs had suddenly disappeared? When all the missiles that were in there, they suddenly disappeared. What happened to all those? What happened to all the people? Did they lose their memory? Did everything snap back to normal? One of the huge problems a lot of people spoke about with Maxwell Lord when he went back to his son. He somehow was able to get on Marine One and fly back to the White House, and there's his son right there. Yeah, a lot of plot conveniences that happens in movies and all the time, and I really don't have a problem with it. But I can understand why most people didn't like it. But it's just the way movies are sometimes. They sometimes unfortunately take shortcuts or make logic just seem impossible. But that's what kind of makes the movie weak, and that's one of the problems. Even I had a slight problem with that one. Another problem a lot of people have is how did Chris Pine, Steve Trevor return in this particular film? Now, I don't mind what they did, it's just how they did it. It's like you're going to bring back Steve, but you're going to have him occupy this other person's body. I mean, one person really had, I think it was Chris Duckman actually said it best. I know, but I heard it before in other reviewers. This guy, it's like when Diana meets up with Steve again, he's in this other guy's body. But when they turn around, we see Chris Pine's character, and for some reason, I'm assuming everyone else must see this other guy's face. And it's like, well, what's going on with this guy? He's inhabiting this guy's body. What about his friends and family? He's got to have friends and family. What about them? You know, I really didn't like that aspect of the film because it really doesn't explain away. I mean, it would have been just better just to bring back Chris Pine in his own body. I mean, if you're going to do that, do it that way. Not have him incorporate somebody else's body, and then no one doesn't really recognize him, or they think it's all Steve, but we're not looking at Steve. We're not looking at Chris Pine. It's just he's just there for the movie. I think if you want to bring back Steve Trevor, and I know the reason why, because he is one of the main characters in Wonder Woman mythos, do it like how the TV show did it back in the 70s, when after Wonder Woman, well, when they decided to revamp the Wonder Woman and put it back in modern times, so they have Wild Ragnar play his son. He's his son. They both have the same name. It's a little bit easier and more believable if you do it that way. So if Chris Pine is going to come back in the third Wonder Woman movie, yes, they did greenlight it for a third one, and both Jenkins and Goddard are coming back. I'll talk about that later. But if you're going to bring back Chris Pine, make him be his son. It's more easy and it's more believable. Huge problem. One of the big problems I have were the effects in this one. For a major motion picture, and I believe this movie, if I'm not mistaken, had a budget of $200 million. And for some of the CGI effects that they pulled up on here was terrible. I mean, come on, guys. I don't know if they missed it in post-production, because I did talk about it in my non-spoiler review, but I get to talk about it more. There's a couple of scenes when they're on the truck's envoys, when they're trying to get Maxwell Lord after he wishes to take that prince's all his oil fields and everything else. And there's a scene where Wonder Woman is running, and you can tell that Gal Gadot is simply just running in place, and there's a fake big green screen behind her, and all she's doing is probably running on some type of pulley to make her believe she's running. That scene was terrible. The most terrible scene is when she's flying through the air and rescuing two kids. There's a shot where you can tell that is nothing but green screen, and the people are not moving, and you could tell, or you could just simply tell how phony that scene is, and it's like, you couldn't make that scene any better. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, it's bad enough in some of the Spider-Man movies where you can tell that, when he does his webbing, and you can tell that he's just he's slinging in behind the green screen with some film going behind him when they add later in post. But you can tell that's why some of the scenes don't work. But you could do a better job than that, and that was terrible. It just really took you out of the movie. Now for Barbara Minerva. Now, I'm not sure how most people know about her background when it comes to the source material. And I understand most times most writers will take liberties when it comes to comic book characters and their origins. There's going to be some type of changes in order to fit the movie. Now, I don't mind what they did with Bob Minerva's character, but I think it would have been a lot better if they actually stuck with the source material, because for me, how she becomes Cheetah here is kind of cheap. She wishes to become an apex predator, and how do they know that she wants to become a cheetah? I mean, it's like, and again with the bad CGI and the fight scenes, and just like I said before, I expected more out of these villains, especially with Cheetah, because Cheetah is one of Wonder Woman's main adversaries. I mean, she's just as similar to what the Joker is to Batman, and I expected more from her. Now, I don't know if they decided to just focus more on the story than as opposed to the character, but that's really not how you want to do a superhero movie. Yeah, you could still put the story in, but for me, I think if you would just had the one villain and not the two, whether it be Maxwell Lord, where you can have Cheetah as the main character, you can still have Maxwell Lord in as a behind-the-scenes guy. He could be the one that's manipulating, and I'll talk about more about his character on the comics and how they portrayed him in this movie. I'll talk about him next. But I think it would have been better if they would have stuck more to her origins from the source material, where she gets stabbed with a knife that has the spirit of the god of the hunt, and that's how she becomes Cheetah. I think that's a little bit more believable as opposed to what they did in this film right here. And again, with the bad CGI, she looks like one of those cats from Cats. And that fight scene barely lasted good enough to make it any enjoyable. It was filmed in the dark, you barely see it. You really get any type of good action between her and Wonder Woman. And it's like, she's supposed to be at least strong enough to at least handle Wonder Woman in hand-to-hand combat, but I guess they wanted to focus more on the story. Now, it's the same thing with Maxwell Lord. Now, of course, Maxwell Lord in the comics, he's mainly is a smart and manipulative businessman who somehow gets the power to push people. That's how he does in the comic books. There is this one particular comic book, I forget the name of it. I think his real name is Maxwell Lord the Fourth, and he somehow has the power to push people. He gets to manipulate Superman, and to the point where Wonder Woman has no choice but to kill him. Most people who read the comics know what I'm talking about here. So his powers here are somewhat similar here in the comics, but here in this particular movie, he's a con man. And a lot of people obviously compared him to 45, but I can get that because of what's happening right now and what he's done prior to becoming president. But I really didn't try to think that they were trying to copy off of Trump. But I felt as though he was weak. Nothing that Pedro Pascal did anything wrong, but the way he did it, he was a little bit over the top at times, especially when he gets his wishes, and then when he gets to the station and he thinks that he can touch everyone, not realizing that the world is about to end. This is what somebody else said to me, and it was kind of ridiculous. But if they would have kept him a little bit behind the scenes, maybe manipulate Barbara Minerva more as opposed to what they did here, I think it would have had a better villains, but still made Barbara the main villain in this particular film. Now, for me, the main reason why this film works is mainly obviously Gal Gadot's performance as Wonder Woman. She does a fantastic job. Right now, other than Linda Carter, she's perhaps the most well-recognized Wonder Woman character. Most people probably don't know prior to Linda Carter's run, there was a movie called Wonder Woman that starred Linda George. I forgot what year this came back out. People might have forgot that one, but there are three women who have portrayed Wonder Woman. You had Linda George, Linda Carter, and now Gal Gadot. They did try to make this TV version, or try to bring back the TV version with Adrienne Padalecki, but that pilot never got picked up. She would have been added on had they added her on there, but they never did. But yeah, she really did a good job. She actually showed some emotion and showed her range as an actress. So hopefully, maybe she will get more roles, which shows her range as an actress. And I can understand why when Grace Randolph talked about it in her reviews, I can understand why she loved it, because she really does give a nice speech at the end of the movie, even though to me it really didn't make any sense as far as the scene is concerned. But Gal Gadot really shines in this particular film. Speaking of Linda Carter, how'd you like that final scene? Yes, I was smiling ear to ear when that final scene came up, when that post-credit scenes come up, because I was talking to my wife and busy watching. We see her in the back. Everyone think it's a gal, but when she turns around, it's Linda Carter, and I'm smiling ear to ear, just fanboying crazy. And Kelly's looking at me like saying, "You're really smiling, aren't you?" I said, "Because I'm happy." No, I don't know why she didn't appear in the first movie, but I think she felt as though she didn't want to take the spotlight away from Gal Gadot. And now that Gal Gadot has now officially been known, she's grown into the role is hers. Linda Carter felt as though it's time for her to make an appearance. She plays, what's it, Animaris? Asteria. She plays Asteria, that gold armor plate that she wore back in the day that Diana's mother, Hippolyta, talked to her about. You know, so she might, I don't know if she's going to be anything in the third Wonder Woman movie. If anything, I would like to see them try to do right for Barbara Minerva's character, Cheetah. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to add Cersei, who is another very popular Wonder Woman villain, into this mix. I'd like to see her added into the third film. And like I said before, I said I enjoyed the film. It's entertaining. Gal Gadot, mainly because of Gal Gadot. The action scenes were pretty good. I did enjoy them. It's just that, as I said in my non-spoiler review, I expected more from the villains. I thought it would have been better had they focused on just one villain. You could still have Maxwell Lord be behind the scenes and just have him being manipulated, because that's what he is in the comics. And I understand that writers have a tendency not to try to change some aspects of the characters for the movies because they think it's more dramatic. But I think they added too much, and that's why he appears to me a bit over the top. And Barbara, just not enough Barbara, and I really didn't like the cheetah thing. Too much cats. No, the film did very well. It grossed $87 million worldwide, so that's probably, I think it's the highest film during the COVID-19 pandemic. Like I said, you know, I can understand why people have trashed on the film because they didn't like it, they didn't like the story. Maybe because they didn't understand the story, but, you know, it's like this. This is one of the reasons, and I said this to another reviewer, that's why you really don't see that many comic book writers do screenplays, because when they write, sometimes they write stories that are only fit for paper and ink, and it's beautiful writing when you actually see it in a comic book, but it really doesn't translate well, and this story did not translate well to the big screen. And again, you know, no daggers or no hate for me, for Geoff Johns. You know, he's a brilliant writer. He's wrote some very fantastic stories for DC Comics, and some of the DC characters have come from him. But he really missed the ball on this one, and I think the next time, get somebody else to write that's known better for writing great movies and great stories in movies. Let Patty Jenkins direct again, because he's coming back again. Don't let her write. If she has a fantastic story, give her story credit, but don't give her writer credits, and let somebody else who've actually written movies do the script for Wonder Woman 3. Alright, I think I rambled on enough about this, so there you have it. That is my spoiler review for Wonder Woman 1984. What are your thoughts about this particular movie? Did you understand the type of story they were trying to tell here? Did you like the characters, or do you think it should have focused more on just one villain and not two? Leave your comments in the comment section below and tell me your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. If you have seen the movie, please, if anyone else who have not seen the movie, do not spoil it in the comment section unless you've seen it in the movie. And so there we have it. That's my video for the day, guys. So if you did enjoy it, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up, like, and share, because it does help with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. That way you'll be notified anytime when I put up new videos such as this one. I want to thank you very much for watching. Once again, my name is Lamont, and I'll see you in my next video. I'm out.